Hey everybody, it's Rob here. Season 8 is now exactly 3 weeks old. I've played a ton. I've almost played all the classes. I've blasted to Paragon 300. And I think it's finally time to look what worked well in the season, what didn't work well, and what they can improve with the campfire chat coming up already here this week in just 2 days on Thursday. We're already going to get some sort of Season 9 news and a PTR. We'll see exactly what's going to happen, but I crafted a full spreadsheet here, and we have like different topics that I want to talk about here, going over the build diversity, the class balance, the new systems that they added, the loot systems, and kind of like my wishes for the game going forward, as well give a final rating of the entire season. Now, before we start, I obviously played a lot, more than 200 hours, and I must say I had a lot of fun, especially like these boss powers. We're going to get into the details as well. There's obviously a lot of negative stuff as well, but in general, guys, the game was fun to play. There was many builds and many cool boss powers to try out and lots of new stuff. But obviously, there's also some critique points here that we want to address, good and bad. So first of all, what they did is they changed the entire leveling and Torment progression system. And I want to talk about this real quick. It felt pretty natural while I was leveling. I was very positively surprised. But on the PTR, it felt kind of slow. But now with the Season 8 being out here, it actually felt really natural. And you can also let me know what you think about this in the comments. But for me, like the character progression being a bit slowed down in the early game felt great. Also not getting like all this crazy loot in the early game. I remember in Season 7, it was already showering us with legendaries. They definitely like tuned that down a bit. And I really must say I liked it. I think the progression was very good. Also, the Torment difficulties, they felt very meaningful. The only thing I would say is that Torment 2 was like not really a difficulty where I personally spent a lot of time on. And I also talked to many of you guys from the chat here. And I think Torment 2 maybe needs a bit of a look at, or Torment 2 could maybe even be removed in some way. I don't know. I personally only spent like an hour, maybe max 90 minutes on Torment 2, you know, because like Torment 1 is kind of like your gateway. You're starting out, you can get your first Ancestrals in Torment 1. And then like Torment 2, you basically just skip until you're Torment 3. And Torment 3 is like a great way to farm up your power before you're ready for the big step into Torment 4. But I felt like Torment 2, I basically just skipped through it. So I don't really think it had big of a purpose for me and also to many people that I talked. And then there was also a bit of a debate here for Torment 4 still being quote unquote too easy. Now this obviously only applies to like the full meta builds. Like if you're actually like playing on a Druid or on a Spiritborn, you kind of like struggle in Torment 4. When I played Spiritborn at the start, I must say I was kind of struggling in Torment 4. So in that regard, it felt good. But if you're playing like one of the OP S-tier builds like Lightning Spear or Death Trap Rogue or something, there's definitely like more need for extra difficulty. But maybe that's also partially because some builds are like a little bit imbalanced and then have like some crazy scaling mechanics. So what I would just wish here is that maybe, you know, they can do something with Torment 2 or maybe, you know, like rescale it a bit and then add Torment 2 at the end for like a bit harder than Torment 5. But again, nothing like major here. I felt overall the progression is in a decent spot right now from my side. But again, let me know what you think in the comments. Then next, we want to talk about the Lair system here. This is like the new boss system that they added. There's a ton of cool, great changes. Like one of the biggest quality of life changes, I feel, is that you can directly teleport to whatever boss. So you don't have to walk there. You can just click here, and then it's basically just going to travel there immediately. So you don't have to walk on your horse and stuff. Big quality of life changes. They also made, you know, the material stack and some other things. Overall, I still feel like the materials could stack higher than 99. I still feel like 99 is a little bit of a cap that's too low. And the same goes for the consumables. Like, why don't they, you know, also stack to 999 or something like this? Because like the inventory gets still filled with all these like boss materials that then, you know, like you don't really use that much, or like they just take so much space. So there's definitely some stuff there. But overall, I must say I really like the different tiers of bosses. I also like the mini Belial mechanic, like having a chance to get an extra Belial. So those are like the more positive things. And also that there's no more forced grouping. A lot of people initially complained, but I still think that the material drop rate, maybe for everything but husks, but the general material drop rate is kind of sufficient. And it's going to be like definitely less depressing for solo players because now you're not forced into groups and everybody has to use their own material. So I think that was a very creative solution for them. But then in the end, I feel many bosses will long-term need better rewards. Like everything but Belial feels useless to many players, right? Especially the mythic drop rate is just too low. It looks like they significantly reduced it. So everything that is not Belial is very hard to get mythics and even greater affix gear. So I would love to see like other bosses. They don't have to drop as much as Belial, but I don't know, like it seems Belial has a 2% drop rate and the other bosses somewhere in the 0.75 range. I think maybe it would be good to have this like somewhere in the 1.5 range or something like that. And Belial may be still the best because he's also the most expensive boss to summon because it's hard to get the materials, but he should not be like the easiest boss, like you just one-shot him, and he also drops like way more mythics and items and greater affix gear than all the other bosses. I think he's just too crazy, and I don't think the solution is nerf Belial, but rather buff the other bosses. And then obviously talking about Belial, I gave this feedback in the PTR already, where I said like they definitely need to make the Belial chest remember the previous selected option and not cancel if a party member is opening that chest. This is like something that's super annoying if you're in the game and then your party member clicks the chest and it cancels it for you, or you have to like choose the reward every time. Maybe just simply make it remember the previous selected option and it would be fine, I think. Then we also have to talk about the stages and immunity phases. While I do like that it makes some of the bosses harder, I still feel like if you have a strong build, like you should still be able to skip or to like one-shot the boss in some way. Maybe add like a strong barrier. Let's say if you, I don't know, like you do 33% damage to the boss, and then he doesn't become fully immune. Maybe he just gets a barrier for 100% of his health, and if you immediately break that, then you can like still like face him like rather quickly or something. But it just feels like a forced added time with at least some of the immunity phases like feeling rather annoying than an interesting boss fight, in my opinion. We already talked about the stack size here. And then what I would also like is one of the blacksmiths in every lair room. Like, so in the boss room, they should just have a blacksmith that lets you salvage the gear, especially the non-ancestral stuff. It's very, very annoying to go back to town and, go salvage and all these things. I've even seen mythic items disappear because when there's too much loot in one instance, like the floor kind of overflows and then the loot just falls straight through the floor and stuff and you don't get it. So we already have a consumable. Many of you don't know this. There's a consumable, I don't have it right now, but there's a consumable from the Dark Citadel that already lets you summon one of these anvils here. So why not just, make you be able to summon this anvil? And right now you can only repair items there. But it would be so cool if we could also like salvage items with this like mobile blacksmith anvil or something. And this at the boss room, I think we've been asking this for quite some time. And I think it would be a nice addition to have this in the Belial, in the Duriel boss room and stuff. So you can just salvage right then and there to make it like, a much more smooth experience with way less loading screens. Because every time you have to go to town, you go to one loading screen when you enter the town. And then when you go back, you go to another loading screen, like adding 2 loading screens to your gameplay. And also, I would assume more server load and stuff. So I would much appreciate if this gets changed and we get a blacksmith added in this layer room, however they're going to do it. The next big system here that many people have strong opinions about. I'm just going to let you know my opinions here. Feel free to discuss in the comments, but please keep it civil. So first of all, what they did to the Obold's vendor feels amazing. So they completely reverted the change that they did in Season 7 and they made it good again, just the way it is in the way it was in Season 6. So you want to be sure you are in Torment 4, and this is a really meaningful way to get some gear. Let's say I want to get some rings, and there's like a very good chance, you see here, boom, that I get a greater affix. This is a greater affix item, and this is a very nice way to target farm it. You can get it, I think, the best from the pits. So if you do pits, you have a very good way here of getting the Obold and having a very nice way to target farm aspect, to target farm, your piece of equipment that is basically missing and where you need upgrades. So big W here from my side for the Obolds. That is going to be a very nice change. And I really hope they don't nerf it again. The only small thing I would say here, maybe there could be some additional sources from Helltide or Whisperers. Like many people are feeling like they have to do pits to get obols, and maybe there could be, like some obols dropping from the Whisper caches. Talking about the Whisper caches, guys, by the way, we have this amazing Ravens, which is also pretty cool, where you can turn in the Grim Favors here in every city. That's a big W in quality of life as well. But maybe getting some obols there, and maybe even from the Helltide chests or something. Or maybe even from the new dungeon escalation system that we're going to get next season, which we're probably going to learn more about in 2 days. That would be pretty cool. But obols, big W in my opinion. Then what needs some addressing, I feel, is the rune drop rate. So for those of you who are hoping to target craft a mythics, like that, it's basically bad news throughout the board, because these mythics, like let's say you want to craft a Harlequin's Crest, you need 6 of each rune, and 6 of the legendary rune is basically completely unobtainable for an average player that does not engage in trading. Getting 6 Eom or 6 Om runes for your Starless Sky is so far away from a casual player, like it's not even close, Like I think even if they change this to 2 or 3 Om runes, like legendary runes per craft, I think it would still be pretty tough for an average player to get them. Like just some statistic, I've actually played 200 plus hours, and I don't believe I have found 6 Om runes myself if I don't consider trading. Like it's literally gonna take hundreds of hours, and then there's also no way to really convert the runes unless you engage in some third party, website trading and stuff. So I feel like crafting the mythics or the rune drop chance needs a look at, and I would just prefer if the mythic crafting will just cost less runes here. Maybe make it 3 each, or maybe make it only 2 for the legendaries. Let me know what you think in the comments. But I think it's completely unobtainable for the average player if you do not want to trade. And most people, with not having an auction house or a marketplace in the game, they do not like trading, So there should be definitely some way for an average player or more casual player to craft at least a mythic a season. And this is just not happening. Like, if I can't find the 6 of the runes in 200 hours of playing, and I've been blasting, like, the average player has no chance of getting this. Like, it's completely unreasonable. It's probably 200 to 300 hours of efficient playtime, and it's just not going to happen. So maybe lower this. The next thing here would be cool. Maybe we can also make this like rune upgrading or rune target crafting. You know how in Diablo 2 you could always upgrade 3 of the smaller runes to a bigger rune and stuff. And I feel we have basically no way of escaping the RNG in Diablo 4. Like, it's basically full RNG. Like, it just crafts you a random rune. There's no way sort of like to craft or to target farm a specific rune. So I feel that could definitely be addressed, and there could definitely be some less RNG in some of these mechanics. And this is going to keep going. Like, maybe like if you find like a 2 or 3 GA mythic that could give you, according to as many legendaries, it could give you more sparks. Like, I had a friend, Mekuna, who found a 4 Greater Affix, Spear of Lycander. It just feels so bad. And maybe, if it's 4 Greater Affix, maybe make it salvage into 4 sparks. That would be pretty cool. And then the next one here, the big elephant in the room, is tempering and masterworking. So people have lots of opinions about this, including myself. So what I would like in the game to be, like, actually what Blizzard also said at some point, to a way to unbrick your items. And I don't mean like unbrick it one time. I mean like fully unbrick it somehow. It can be something very expensive, or it can be something time-based. Like, maybe make it cost like a lot of materials, maybe make it cost like a spark, or maybe make it cost like a temporary block or something where you could, I don't know, use the Scroll of Restoration on the same item like once every week or something, right? So let's say I bricked my weapon. I have many bricked weapons, actually. I have a bricked amulet, I think. Don't know if I have it right here. But I have like plenty of bricks. For example, this one here. This is a proper brick. So this is like a GG Sorg amulet. It's bricked. And I can't use the Scroll of Temper anymore, right? Because I already used it. So basically, there's no reason for me to keep this item but to cry. But what you could do is maybe, like, if you really bricked it, then once every 7 days, or I don't know, insert random time here, but once every 7 days, you can reuse a scroll of unbricking. something like this. So don't make it too OP, obviously. It needs to be like either some time limit or make it like some heavy costs. Like you can see here, like the cost to temper an item, if I'm going to remove my camera here, is very low, right? You see it costs like 1 forgotten soul. Maybe every time you use a scroll of retempering, it like 10x's the cost. So it costs like 10 forgotten souls and 150 veiled crystals per reroll. And then if you do it again, it like, like doubles it again or something, right? Like could either be that or just a time-based system. I don't know what's the best solution, but there's like just some options. There might be even some more cooler solutions, but basically a way to unbrick your items with some high expensive costs. That would be cool. And then the next thing obviously here is masterworking. Like if you want to masterwork your items, you're like basically subject to heavy RNG. Let's say here I want to triple crit the resources here, for example, on my beast fall boots. It's basically not possible without heavy RNG, and I have to always reset it back to 0. So it would be very cool. Many people suggested this already, to reset to certain checkpoints, right? So here I had double crit on resource, and then I rolled the last crit and it hit on agile. So it would be cool to just have an option to reset it to rank 8 out of 12. So then I can try on the last one again, right? Or reset it to rank 4 out of 12. So 3 checkpoints, 0, 4, and 8, where you can basically reset the item to maybe for some higher cost. That would be super cool. And that would at least, remove some of the frustrations that people have with the Masterwork system. Then another way, another gripe point here for people in the itemization is the lack of certain materials. I feel like every season there's a new bottleneck. Last season, in season 6, it was rawhide. Then it was like veiled crystals. Now it's like back to forgotten souls. And I feel like every time there's like some way or some material that you're lack of. And it would be really cool to have a way to target farm them, right? Like we have this with Obduxide. Like if you want to target farm Obduxide, it's actually pretty cool. You can just choose to, do the Undercity or do the Nightmare Dungeons, which are going to get improved, or like, do like activity that gives you Obduxide, like the Infernal Hordes. But the problem is for Forgotten Souls, and also to a degree for some other basic materials, there's not really any like way to target farm them. Like many people ask me often, but Rob, how do you farm Forgotten Souls? And then the only answer is, just play the game forehead. Like there's not really any cool way, or farm Belial, or so that could be a nice option here to make like a target farmable events, such as the Legion events. Like I think like Legion events giving like a lot of these like basic crafting materials, that could be pretty cool, because Legion events don't really serve like a big purpose in the game right now. And I think that would be something that could be much improved. The next big topic here, we have like 3 more topics. Next big topic here is the season theme. So I must say, I was skeptical at first, but the boss powers are one of the coolest system in the game that they did in terms of the power system, right? So there has like a ton of cool visual effects. They have a big impact in all the builds, basically like rocking around with these boss powers. Like you either spawn like some frozen, or you're dealing like some cool damage types here with your different boss powers. They are very impactful, very strong, and just overall like super cool options here that I would definitely like to see return or stay in the game in some way. You see this like big eyes happening here all around my character and stuff. They look really cool visually, and they also are very impactful. They're very strong for many builds. And like I really hope that there's going to be some way of some of these boss powers to basically just like become part of the core game. That would be super cool. And I think this has been a big W season power theme. So the power theme here is really nice, and that felt one of the coolest power systems ever. And also the season reputation system. Like the board that you get where you can actually farm the mythics here in the Tarasarak city. You can get decent way of getting materials, a decent way of getting greater affix gear. You can get upgrades here for your main gear. You can get upgrades for your aspects. And I feel the reputation board, also with the scrolls here and these caches, like this is finally in a great spot. It took them many seasons to get there, but I really do feel like this board is very rewarding and very worth doing, and everybody can complete it. It's not really too hard, you just grind whatever activity, and you get this reputation bonus, and with this reputation bonus, you get like one of these like chests here, and you see, boom, I got 3 greater affix gear, I got gold, I got mats, I got everything basically, So this is like a pretty cool way, basically, of getting like some of the stuff here. Actually, like nice pants here, for example. Boom. Very build enabling. So boss power reputation system, really good. The only thing I don't really like about the season theme is the apparition incursions. This is this like new event that is like spawning all over the world here, like right here. I still feel like having like a forced timer here is not the best solution. It's also not really rewarding to go there. I'm very happy they added the Grim Favors from the PTR. But still, it just doesn't feel rewarding enough, and it just doesn't seem like a cool system. It seems like similar to the Realm Walkers to me. It's like this timed system, and you don't really go there. I think it would be cooler, let's say, if the Apparition Incursion had a chance to spawn, you know, after you defeat a boss, after you defeat a Nightmare Dungeon. Like the Apparition Incursion event just like spawns in the Nightmare Dungeon or spawns wherever you are after a pit or whatever, and then you can do it just there. But like having to specifically go there without even having an option to teleport, like you'd still have to go here and then walk there. It's just very annoying, and I don't think this is a great system, the Apparition Incursion. It won't be missed, but surely the boss powers will be. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. That's my opinion about the season theme. Overall, pretty cool. Just the Apparition Incursions, not so nice. Okay, then next big topic here is the build diversity and the fun of builds. So I must say, my friends, I was positively surprised. Like, I'm not the biggest rogue player, but there are super cool builds in the season, especially here, like rocking this Death Trap rogue that we've been playing. There's a ton of cool and fun builds in the season. Also, to some degree, like what's happening on Barb, like there's some cool stuff on the Barb as well. But basically here, like having like insane cooldown and just basically like dashing all around and looking in style, and just a very cool playstyle here on the Death Trap Rogue, for example. And there's many builds. I really enjoyed Lightning Spear again as well, because there's like some new nuances and some news to the build. So there's a lot of like cool and fun builds to play in the season. So I definitely had a great time. But obviously there are some problems, because if you're looking at the tier list, a lot of like quote unquote old meta builds, and I've criticized this before, are basically making a comeback in the season and are still the strongest, right? Without really seeing a big meta shift on many of the classes. I think Rogue is like the positive exception there. But Sorcerer, we have been playing Lightning Spear for like, I think it's 4 seasons now. It's been an S tier build. Then we had the Bloodwave Necro. I was so surprised to see the Bloodwave Necro being buffed after it was already the strongest on the PTR. That was crazy to me. There's one new meta build here on the Necro Bloodspear. That's kind of cool. The Druid, also kind of the same meta, right? Cataclysm. And then obviously they are still snapshotting the Lightning Spear. Blizzard said they want to address this, but they haven't fully addressed this. So I don't like that they're snapshotting on Lightning Spear. I don't like that they're snapshotting on Cataclysm. They need to fix the snapshotting, especially on Druid. And then they need to look at the class balance again, especially Druids and also the Spiritborn. Spiritborn had an S tier build, but that was based on a bug, and that was the only bug that got fixed because it was causing some lags. And now the Spiritborn is like stuck somewhere in pit 105. For all the other classes are doing like 111, 112 or something, right? So yeah, that was like pretty rough, I feel, for lots of Spiritborn enjoyers. So Spiritborn and Druid need a big look at. They need to fix the snapshots, and I really hope long term they're gonna like really like shake up the meta and not let the old meta builds like just reign supreme. Obviously I don't want them to giga nerf the meta builds, right? I don't want them to nuke Bloodwave. I just want other builds, you know, to come up to that level and have like more variety, right? Because like, you know, if you're playing like a Druid and you're playing something else but Cataclysm, you can kind of forget it, right? Like there's a Boulder build, but I haven't even seen pit 100 from the Boulder Druid and stuff. It's just like a very tough thing, like playing like the non-meta builds. And they keep trying, but like I think like everything in C tier just needs like a 4x or something. Like Bash, Upheaval, like Hurricane. Like they get just like 3 or 4x this, and it's gonna be like kind of fine. And then the B tier also needs like a 2x, and then we'll see where we get. Like I would just like to see way more impactful changes for the weak builds to make them more viable and to shake up the meta in some more meaningful way and not have the same meta for multiple seasons. That would be cool. But same as on Bar, by the way. We're still playing like an Earthquake variant. Yes, there are some nuances with the pets, but it's basically still an Earthquake Barb. And people want to play like, a direct damage Hoda Barb, a direct damage Whirlwind Barb, a direct damage like Double Swing, and they keep doing stuff in that direction. I just feel it's just not enough with how crazy some of these mechanics in S tier are at the moment. And then here, the second to last topic is the pits. So the pits in general are a decent system, but it's obviously far from perfect, right? And I'm not sure if the pits is really the best system to do the leaderboards with. We'll see. There's just so much RNG in the pits. They have this roadmap, and they want to make a leaderboard system. I still think they're going to like make a new mechanic, like a new endgame mechanic. That's also my hope. And make leaderboards for that, because pits has quite a lot of problems. First, there's a lot of RNG in the pits, which I don't like. There's like the desert map, for example, and then you can be in like some of the like very bad like cave maps or something, like, right? There's like just some maps that are very bad in comparison to like the desert map, which is like super open and stuff. So there's a lot of RNG with the mob types, a lot of RNG with the maps, and then the boss fights in the pits are also a huge problem. They're basically just damage sponges. In Diablo 3, we at least had some ways, some tactics, some strategies, to influence the boss fight. You could save like a power pylon for the boss. You could use a Bane of the Stricken. And there was like a lot of nuances that you could like change, a lot of variables you could change to make like a better boss fight. But in Diablo 4, like you're just hitting a brick wall against the boss, especially if you're playing something like a sorcerer or something. And then there's the boss, and it's just like a full damage sponge that can't be killed. And you can't really do anything about this. And then your build hits a brick wall. It's just a DPS check. So I would definitely love to see some changes coming to this. And then also probably the biggest problem that I have with the pits is that high content is not rewarding. Like there's efficiency-wise, there's no point in doing any high pits ever. You're getting the most reward, like the most XP, the most items, the most obols per hour, if you're doing content that is not challenging to your character. Like I could run, pit 100 with my rogue here, but there's just no reason for it. And I would be way better off just running pit 69, because 69 is a great number, and it's just so much more efficient running 69, because the XP scaling is bad. There's no, additional greater affix in high pits. Like they just need some rewards for doing high content. The only thing that you get, but this is capping out very fast, is your glyph levels. But I still feel like they did change the way that the pit scaling works. So do you have the pit scaling like crazy hard now, crazy high, but I feel like they completely forgot to scale the rewards. So they only scaled the health of the monsters, like to crazy amounts. So we're like stuck in pit 120, but they completely forgot to scale any of the rewards. So you get no more XP, you get no extra items and all this kind of stuff. I still feel this needs to be addressed, and I feel, at least equally rewarding way of playing the game should be like making or playing challenging content. Just playing easy content can also be rewarding, but it should not be by far the most rewarding to just go brain dead mode, play pit 69 and don't ever go high, because you're just scuffing yourself if you do so. So I feel that's a big problem of the pits that should be addressed in my opinion. And then nice quality of life. Maybe they can add a way of leaving the pits. Like you can't even TP out, for example, if you're like, again, this goes back to the problem of bosses. Some bosses have ads, like minions. Some bosses don't. Some bosses are pure single target. And then a lot of builds, like Lightning Spear Sork, they can't kill the boss, which is single target. So they just need to leave the game. But if you're in the boss fight, you can't even leave. You can't even press T. You can't even teleport out of the boss fight. So it'd be pretty cool to teleport out there. And one more thing that I really liked for the season powers here, for example, is the Lilith Wind, which is basically adding some extra possibilities for the boss fights, for the pits. And I really would love them to make more powers like this, more powers like Bane of the Stricken in Diablo 3, or more powers like Lilith, where it actually changes, or can modify the boss fight in a way that is positive to you, where you can actually like reduce the time, you can make 2 extra blisters, so you have 3 targets total, and stuff like that for more DPS potential for builds. So that would be pretty cool to see for the pits. Last thing here I want to talk about is Reliquary System. Basically, we have this new Reliquary System, and a lot of people didn't like it. They were like not so happy with this. But the great thing is, guys, that Blizzard already said that they're gonna talk about it. You can see here the tweet from Adam Fletcher. So in just 2 days, on May 22nd, this Thursday, we have this Season 9 campfire where they will talk about feedback related on topics around the Reliquary, because a lot of people were very angry and they felt it was basically a downgrade for the player, this Reliquary system. Many people don't like it. And yeah, I agree. I hope they're gonna change this or revert this, and we'll see what they will do on Thursday. Player choice is always great, but you're actively getting less rewards, and it feels more frustrating than before. So we'll see what they change with the Reliquary system. That would definitely be cool. And then I have some more optional, and then we have our rating here. So just some long-term wishes, guys, here. We talked about this many times before, and this is not in the roadmap as of yet, but this is just my long-term wishes. Please make a loot filter. It doesn't have to be a crazy dedicated loot filter like Last Epoch has it, for example. I would be fine, and I think it would solve 90% of the problems if they just have an opt-in option. So it could be something very simple. You go to options, you go to gameplay, and there's a tag mark here that just says automatically salvage non-ancestral items. And then you can just click it, and then this will basically make your pet. They already have this functionality in the game with blues and whites and yellows on Torment 4. They get automatically salvaged. And this would apply to non-ancestral legendaries and uniques. If you click this button here, that would be the easiest loot filter. And then your pet will just convert all the non-ancestral, all the non-greater affix stuff would just instantly be salvaged and converted into materials that then going to get auto-picked up. We have this functionality already in the game. I can't believe this would be hard to do, and this would fix so many problems. Please. That would be very nice. Next here is more stash space and dedicated stash space. I mean, there are a lot of memes floating around. They said they can't add more stash space. I really hope they figure it out at some point. And it would be very cool to have, first of all, more stash space, especially if you're playing multiple characters like me. I played every character this season. I just didn't play a Necro. So I have Rogue gear, I have Barb gear, I have Spiritborn, all the Sword gear, Mythics, all that stuff. And then there's the runes and the jewels and the consumables, all taking slots. So more stash space. And then we could maybe have dedicated stash tabs for the runes, for keys, for consumables, for mythic uniques, even for normal uniques. They could just make so much cool stuff. And I know some people might not agree, but I would even be okay with paying some extra money the way it works in PoE. Maybe you can pay $5 or something, and you can buy a dedicated rune stash tab, or maybe $10. I don't know. Let me know. Obviously it'd be cool if it'd be free, but if they have this dedicated stash tabs, I think it would be fine if they charge some extra money for it. I would be totally okay with that. But yeah, let's see. Let me know what you think below. Then an in-game auction house, it's a marketplace. People don't like to go to third-party program. We do have a trade chat here. Obviously, that's some that doesn't really solve anything. Having a trade chat without any filter system whatsoever. So everybody just in a random trade chat, and then they think it's enough for trading. It doesn't really work. So having a dedicated in-game auction house or marketplace, whatever they call it, that'd be super cool. More endgame, obviously. I feel this is kind of coming. We get the dungeon escalation. We're going to learn about this in 2 days. I'm probably going to make a dedicated video about the dungeon escalation, my hopes and dreams for it, basically. And then we'll see what happens on Thursday. So that would be much appreciated. There's a bit of a problem every season, guys. We have problems with dupes, game security, and some of these things it would be cool to kind of have this. You see the crazy gold prices, the inflation, whether it's bots or duping, whatever it is. There's just some crazy stuff going on with the trading. And I really hope long term they can fix this, maybe for the next expansion or something, because there was some kind of dupe every season for now. And really hope that this is going to get addressed long term, just for the long term health of the game and making it more secure, basically. The same goes here with lags, crashes, memory leaks. I still often have it. Obviously this is not easy to fix, but I often have it when I just enter a loading screen that my PC basically freezes up for a few seconds. Sometimes I even crash. And it only really happens in Diablo. I don't have this problem in other games that I play, where I just go to the loading screen and then my PC just is at 100% usage and my memory leaks and the game and my PC just lags, right? Then maybe a way, and this goes probably in the end game, to further modify difficulty. You remember we had this profane mind cages in the game where you could basically let's say you go to the Hell Tide and then you increase the level of the Hell Tide by 10. Like the monster level of the Hell Tide gets increased by 10. And then they drop more cinders, and then they are more dangerous, they give more XP. So like some more of these like high risk, high reward systems, like make the content in T4 or wherever more challenging for more rewards. Maybe with a consumable that's like very rare to find. That would be super cool, like the Profane Mind cages. And then, yeah, obviously in the itemization system as well, long term, I don't think this is going to happen short term, like make white, blue, and yellow items useful. Whether they make it like a crafting system or like some other ideas, but basically I still feel itemization in Diablo 2 still had the best itemization out of any ARPG there. You had a use for every item, right? The white item could be a base for a rune word or for some crafting or enchantments. Blue items could roll higher stats than would ever possible on legendaries or even yellow items. And yellow items, like, I don't know, like a 6-point faster cast ring, could be potentially like the best item in the game, even outclassing like a Stone of Jordan or something, where you just have like 10 faster cast with auras, with stats and life and all the crazy stuff that you could get. So there's a lot of potential here. But overall, guys, obviously there's a lot of critique, there's a lot of positive points. Overall, I must say I had a ton of fun in the season. Let me know what you think in the comments, but I really enjoyed my time, and I think the game's overall state is like in the best state it has ever been. I don't think Season 8 was the best season ever, but again, I think the state of the game is very good, and I also think it was a pretty good season. So you have my season rating kind of here for the previous seasons. So Season 1 obviously was kind of like the worst season with the hearts. Season 2 with Duriel, Vampiric Powers, the Vampire Tide, AOZ was one of my top, most favorite seasons. Season 4 was maybe my top one with the Loot Reborn. And then there was some bad seasons like the Construct and stuff. Witch Powers, I was okay, but I didn't really like it too much. So the highest rating I've ever given is a 9 out of 10. And I think like I also like made like a bit of a tier list here. And I feel Season 8 is somewhere close to Season 2 for me, but maybe a little bit below. So I would put it like on rank 3. I usually don't do points, but I would do like a 7.5. It would somewhere be like top 8 here for me in terms of the seasons. So again, Season 4, Loot Reborn, absolute favorite. We also had super cool builds on the Barbs. Season 2 with AOZ, Vampire, Duriel was my second favorite. And I think Season 8 for me was actually my third favorite season that they've done. I think the game is somewhere between 7 and 8 out of 10 for me this season. There's definitely a couple of 100 hours of, or at least 100 hours of fun for you if you're an ARPG enjoyer. So this will be my rating here, 7.5 out of 10. Let me know what you think down below. I definitely had a fun time here, and I'm gonna look forward to Season 9 and all the news here in 2 days. I'll cover that here live on the channel. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Again, leave your comments below, and I will see you soon. Take it easy, my friends. GG. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.